I got a new project I'm going to start today, and what it's going to be is some new furniture for my front porch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build two benches. One is going to be a flat bench that's going to go right next to the hot tub, and then the other one's going to be a flat bench but with a back that's going to go up against the house. And then I'm also going to make a table which I'm going to use for storing all my hot tub chemicals. So I started with getting these cushions. I got these from like a local closeout store. They were 20 bucks each. You could get some at like Lowe's or Home Depot, more around like the $30 mark. There's also some on Amazon. You can get a variety of colors, but you're probably going to pay a little bit more. So I started with these, and I wanted to start by getting the cushions so I knew what size to make it, and I'm going to go from there. I bought some exterior construction screws. That's what I'm going to use for this whole project. And then I'm going to actually just use a circular saw. This probably would go a little bit better if I used a miter saw, but my miter saw is totally beat and I don't really want to buy a new one. And really this is just the cheapest, easiest option, is to go with the circular saw. I have a stack of wood behind me. What I ended up buying was a bunch of 1x4x8s. These are actually basically, they're just a 2x4, like a standard 2x4 stud cut in half. So I got those because they were slightly cheaper. I mean, if you're trying to go the cheap route, it's really not going to save you a whole lot of money, and you may want to actually do this whole project with 2x4s. It might turn out a little bit better. So let's get started. I was having audio issues here, but basically what I'm saying here is I'm going to make the sides now, and I will only be doing the 45-degree angles where it meets up with the front piece, because I will not be putting a back panel on, so the back edges can be just cut straight. Alright, this thing's actually starting to turn out a little bit the way like I had intended, so that is awesome. If you haven't noticed by now, I kind of do things a little bit unconventionally, but I'm a fan of doing things efficiently and with the tools that I have, and usually things turn out. So that's kind of the way this has been going, and I'm really happy with the way it is. So the next step, I'm going to actually add these two 2x4s to the insides here, so that we have those structural supports, and then I'll work on the back side, and then we'll work on getting a top on here so that we can put the cushions on. So what just happened was I was cutting some wood and my extension cord just started on fire. This is not good. So I'm definitely not using that anymore. I just grabbed a new extension cord. Well, it's not new, it doesn't look very good, but hopefully it doesn't start on fire while I'm using it. I just got back from Lowe's where I was getting the plywood for the top of the bench, and they weren't very busy, so I actually had them cut the plywood for me there, and now I just have to cut the width of it. I'm using two pieces on each bench for the top to get it to the right thickness. So I'm just going to cut this piece up and then put it on, and the bench should be pretty close to done. I'm ready to jump in on the second bench now. One of the biggest takeaways that I got doing the first side is that these pieces are different thicknesses. I guess they're kind of rough cut, so I should have really looked at that. I haven't had too much experience doing the 45-degree angles to meet, so those joints weren't perfect. And I think what'll make it better is I've flipped all these pieces over so that when I make the cut, the side where it's actually going to meet up at the point with the other piece of wood, it's going to actually, it'll be flush there, as opposed to trying to do it the other way where things get kind of wonky. Okay, now I have all my boards cut for the sides and the front. The next thing I'm going to do is cut the 2x4s that are going to be used as the supports. But this time I'm only going to do 3 that are the length that I did last time, which is 16.5. And I'm going to do 3 that are longer, and those are going to be used for the back side and for the backrest that I'm going to put on this one. Alright, the next thing is I have to cut these backrests so that they're at an angle and they're not straight, because that wouldn't be very comfortable. I don't think this backrest is going to be all that comfortable anyways. So you may have noticed that I put these 2x4s in the opposite way that I did on the flat bench. I'm gonna just run 2 pieces running this way as opposed to the 4 pieces running this way. I think it'll be just as strong, and it'll actually offer more support for this piece once I get it in there as well. So all I have to do is make 1 cut on these 2 pieces of plywood, and then I'll be ready to put it on as the top of this bench. Alright, I think I have time to make a few more cuts before I lose all the daylight today. I need 5 pieces for the backrest. They're going to be the full width, which is 46 inches. So I'm going to get 5 of those cut up, and then maybe I'll get them attached tonight too. Alright, this is where I left off last night. I got these backboards on. That was the last thing I did. It was a mess. I probably should have waited till today to tackle that. I was kind of rushing it and I was losing daylight, but everything's on there good now. So the next thing that I'm going to do to finish up this one is I'm going to put a piece across the top. I'm actually going to cut it to length, and then I'm going to put it on there, and then I'm going to cut it the width just so I have like a solid base to cut it on rather than trying to do it on the table. And then I'm going to cut a couple pieces for the sides, and once I'm done with that, I'll move on to the table. Okay, the 2 benches are done, so now I'm going to move on to the table. I know that I want to make the table square. If you will remember, I did the other sheets of plywood 17 inches, so this is what I have left over. This is 26 inches, so I'm going to start with this, and then I'm going to build my sides around it. Alright, I got all my pieces cut for the sides of the table, and I'm going to start putting it together. Alright, so I got all the sides cut and put together for the table, both for the base and for the top, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. I had one little mishap right here. I could have cut new pieces for this, but I just decided I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to put this piece on the bottom. I already have this piece cut, which is going to go right in the middle here. I have a couple of these scrap pieces that are already kind of cut to the right angle to go in here. I'm just going to cut them in half. And then I'm going to put them in all 4 corners, and that's going to serve as my support for the plywood that I'm going to put in here. Now that I got all my pieces built for this table, I'm going to connect them all by putting some pieces on the inside in the corners. I found some short screws so that I can do it from the inside without having to add extra screw holes on the outside. I'm going to only do it with the bottom 4, and then the top one is going to be a part of the top of the actual table, which is going to be removable so that I can use this for storage. Alright, so I got my top laid out. I decided I'm going to go with everything for the top as a diagonal, so I just put the outer frame on here. First I'm going to number it so I know what order to put this all back together, and then I'm going to trace this box and then cut it out, and then I'll be able to start putting together the top. All right, so I'm done constructing all the furniture, the 2 benches and the table. So now I have to give it a nice finish and put some urethane on it. It's going to be on my porch, so it's going to be covered all the time, but it's still going to get some moisture. And plus we want to make it look a little nicer than just like the pine board. So what I'm actually going to do is take a torch and I'm going to give it a burned finish. I did a test piece here. It's good to get a little bit of practice as well as see what it's going to look like in the end by just doing a little test piece, which we have plenty of scrap wood from this project, so that's what I did. I think I'm good to go. I'm going to get the burnt wood finish on there and then coat it and I'll be done. All right, I just got done burning all the surfaces that you can see. Not only does it look badass, it only took like half of one of these tanks, which they only cost $4. So this is actually quite a bit cheaper than if I would have put a stain on here. And I think it looks better than what a stain would anyways. Like obviously you don't get to pick the exact shade of brown, but I think it looks pretty good. The only thing left to do now is put the urethane on. I always go with the Hellsman's Bar urethane. This is a clear semi-gloss, so I'll put this on to protect not only the surfaces that I burned, but also the other ones that are exposed.